When I think of injustice, I think of the case of Shanda Sharer because of the pure horror that she went through and everybody involved. So today we're going to deep dive that case. So this case starts in 1991 in New Albany, Indiana at a school called Hazelwood Junior High. Now, I'm not exactly sure how the school is set up, but it is grades 7 through 12. So I think that like middle school was like maybe in a separate building, but everybody was on campus. Like there was like this huge campus and kind of bounced around between the upper and lower grades. So even though it was a junior high, there were upperclassmen on the same area. Now, like every junior high, you had your popular cliques of your cheerleaders and your jocks or whatever. But this specific group was called the Hoodlums. And they were kind of more rough around the edges, if you want to call it that. And the ringleader of this Hoodlum group, or the Hood Girls, was named Melinda Loveless. Now, she was their queen bee. Okay, everyone listened to Melinda. And she was 16, but she was still in ninth grade. Why she was held back, I don't know. But she was an old ninth grader. Now, Melinda was an open lesbian, and so for 1991, that was pretty unheard of. That wasn't something that you saw too often, but she was comfortable in her sexuality, as you should be, and so she was open about it. Ringleader Melinda was dating a girl named Amanda Havron, and again, they were both open with their sexuality, so people knew about the relationship, and it was talked about all the time in the hallways, as people do. Well, typically teenage love isn't the healthiest and they have a lot of toxic traits. And that was exactly what happened with Melinda and Amanda Havron. They were just not super amazing together, kind of fed off of negative energy, but they were, doing that whole come back, no stay, leave, go, that whole toxic deal. So their relationship was tumultuous to say the least. Melinda was incredibly possessive over Amanda. Now, Amanda Havron was 15 years old and in 8th grade at the time, so they were pretty close in age. And it was definitely one of those relationships where one person was more powerful or dominant over the other. So Amanda was kind of subservient to Melinda. Melinda was incredibly jealous and didn't like Amanda talking to anyone. Well, one day, Melinda sees that Amanda is talking to a girl in detention, and that girl was 12-year-old Shanda Sharer. Shanda and Amanda were talking in detention and becoming friends. Shanda had just moved to the area. She had come from Louisville, Kentucky, and she was in 7th grade. Shanda was your typical teenage girl. She had gotten detention for fighting in the hallway or whatever, and that is how they met. But when Melinda saw Amanda and Shanda speaking in detention, that set her off and she went into a complete spiral. But Shanda was 12 and she was the new girl in school and she wanted friends and wanted to be liked. And so she liked the attention from Amanda and they became friends. But as they became friends, Melinda noticed that Shanda and Amanda were getting closer and she was not about that. So Amanda wrote a note to Shanda saying like, hey, are you interested in girls? Because do you think I'm cute? Kind of like asking if she'd be interested in that because she was younger. Even though Amanda was dating Melinda, Amanda and Shanda seemed interested in each other. But that note that Amanda wrote, Melinda found in a notebook, and that is when she went insane. None of this was coming up like on the surface, but Melinda was getting increasingly angry at just seeing those two together. And Amanda and Shanda actually went to the 7th grade dance together. And Melinda saw those two were together and went over and hurt Shanda in the middle of the dance and beat her up. But Amanda didn't do anything about it. Melinda beat Shanda up, this 12-year-old at the dance, while Amanda watched. And I think in some regard, Amanda probably felt good having two girls pine over her, but she didn't intervene at all. Well, this obviously makes Shanda really upset. She's crying and she's really upset over what just happened in front of everyone. Now, despite Amanda not helping Shanda, she still writes her these love letters, and Shanda's mom finds one, and Shanda's mom's like, yeah, we're not doing this. Let's move schools. And so she moves Shanda out of school thinking this drama will be over and Shanda can go on with her life and everything will be fine. So Shanda starts a new school and she's seemingly back to her old self, putting all that behind her. But because Melinda, who beat her up, was 16, a lot of the students didn't like that she had done that to a child. And so Melinda was falling from a pedestal, if you want to call it that. So Melinda is kind of fallen from her throne. But at this time, she meets another friend named Lori at the skate park. Now, Lori had come from an incredibly religious background, but she did the exact opposite of what she was being taught. Things like being part of the occult and like more satanic type of thing. And so those two were edgy together. Melinda found her new crew that would be subservient to her. So Melinda and Lori became like best friends. So it was this super toxic back and forth, egging on toxic behaviors. Now, Amanda and Melinda's relationship at this point has obviously fizzled out because of her relationship with Shanda, but now Amanda's trying to get back in good graces with Melinda. It was just this odd triangle at this point, but remember, Shanda's at a totally different school. She doesn't even go to school with Lori or Melinda or Amanda. Shanda's doing her own thing. That did not stop Melinda from seeking revenge on the person who stole her girlfriend. January of 1992, a little girl walked into the police station with her parents to say, hey, I know about a little girl who was just murdered. She was meek and quiet, and she didn't look like she would know something like that, but she did. Remember how I said Melinda wanted to make new friends? She did. And Melinda found a new friend group, and that friend group consisted of Lori, Melinda, Hope, and Tony. Melinda had asked her new friends, Tony and Hope, to go to a concert with them. And they were like, oh, sure. And they were younger than Melinda. So Melinda picks up these girls to go to a concert. And that is when Melinda tells these girls, hey, we're going to go unalive somebody. Now, Hope, Lori, and Tony had never met Shanda, but they pull up to Shanda's house, and Melinda tells Hope and Tony to go up to Shanda's front door and knock on the door and bring her to the car. And they did. So Tony and Hope, who had never met Shanda, knock on the door and say, hey, your ex Amanda wants to speak with you. Shanda wasn't able to go outside immediately, so she said, hey, come back, and I'll come out later when my parents go to bed. So Hope and Tony knock on the door again and say, hey, Amanda's waiting for you, let's go. And Shanda gets in the car, and that is when she finds out that in the car, it is Melinda, Hope, Tony, and Lori. She realized Amanda was not there. I'm going to spare you the details of the crime. You can look them up. But for about 10 hours, those 4 girls took turns torturing young Shanda. And they put her in the trunk. And when they realized that they could still hear her in the back of the trunk, that is when they went to a gas station, got lighter fluid, and lit her on fire. That poor girl fought and was still alive after 10 hours of abuse. She succumbed to her injuries, and that is when her body was found. And that is when Tony went to the police saying, hey, oh my gosh, I met these girls and this is the crime that I partook in. And so they did an investigation and realized what had happened. Melinda had rallied these girls together to commit this heinous crime, and it just became this dogfight mob mentality on a girl that none of these other girls had ever even met. Now, Amanda Havrin, Shanda's ex, or whatever you want to call her, was not directly a part of this. So because Tony had gone to the police and told him this whole story and testified against them, she was given a much lighter sentence. Tony was given 20 years. Hope was sentenced to 50 years. And Melinda and Lori were sentenced to 60 years, which sounds amazing. And Shanda's mom said in court, all she wants is for them to serve their sentence. But by the year 2019, all 4 girls were out of prison, and not one of them served even half of their prison time. Those 4 girls tortured a 12-year-old child and didn't even serve half of their sentence. And the fact that they are roaming free now makes me sick. He deserved better